What's up, guys? CJ from RSA here. Been getting crazy questions lately about the gray car after the race came out with this ProCharge stock motor car and a built motor Whipple car, asking what's better, ProCharger, Whipple, turbo, like everything like that. A huge part of the community is guys that are doing highway pulls and go to the track maybe once, twice a year. That is probably the majority of the owners of boosted Coyotes. And so let's just dig into it and see what's what, because as we all know, I have a super fast twin turbo car, street car, and this ProCharge car is actually my first supercharged car. But the way I went about this build is a little bit different because I focus on essentially being as least slow as possible. That's my motto when I build a car, be as least slow as possible. So that means I have to have control over certain things. So let's just go over the gray car and see some of the advantages and disadvantages of the ProCharge setup and why I actually like this setup so much. So far, it's been absolutely fantastic and fun just to learn the process of making this setup fast and figuring out the advantages and disadvantages. So let's check into it. I'm gonna show you guys my laptop now.
So the main difference between a blower car and a turbo car is usually control of how power comes in. Turbo car, you usually have control through a boost controller. Most boost controllers are not that great, granted, but you have some semblance of control through wastegate, duty cycle, and whatnot. With the ProCharger setup, our ProCharger setup, we actually have control very similar to a turbo car. Not exactly the same, but it is very similar. So the hardest part leaving on the street is right here, the hit. Basically, that first 20, 40 mile an hour in your car. That is the hardest part to control in the car. I can actually control wastegate duty cycle here with our setup and control how much power comes in. As you can see, this line is very linear. Down here we have really shitty roads, so you can't just give the car all the power it wants right away. So also, you guys need to stop cheating with this shit. But anyway, so say the beginning of the hit here is just under 60 mile an hour. Car comes up and is gradual on boost. Big difference between the ProCharger and a blower car and the turbo car is when you're brake boosting, you're not going to have that rise right there. Essentially, you're going to be on the boost you want to be when you want it. Another big issue with the blower cars is dropping boost in between the gears. So essentially, on the gear shift here, duty cycle is changing so that I have minimal boost loss. Now with RPM based boost control, I can mitigate that with this car, which I'm very close to being completely dialed in with it. But essentially, I can add more pressure on the wastegate to have more boost in the beginning of the run, in the beginning of the gear, so that I can have minimal drop off when the RPM drops. Because the blower car, boost is very RPM dependent. Not very, it is RPM dependent. So essentially what you want to do is minimize that, because the turbo car will have flat boost the entire way if you have great control over it. Like in the CO2 setup, magnificent. Very hard to beat that. But blower cars can be very, very fast. The difference between this setup and say a Whipple for a street car is that I can control these dips. I can control how much power I'm making with these dips. That's why in that race with the Whipple car, this car that makes less power was able to be a little bit faster because it's making more power in the beginning parts of the gears. So down here where the car shifts, there's only how much boost difference? A half a pound a difference of boost here. And that's with me not really controlling the wastegate that much. When it's completely dialed in, it can be completely flat, which is absolutely ideal. But yeah, and I'll show you guys what the wastegate setup looks like. So this is the outside of the car if you guys haven't seen it. My gray ProCharge car. Love the way this car looks, actually. Quite sinister. Driving this thing around is a fucking blast. I personally think that the blower cars are real fun to drive around because you just have instant power like that. Let me show you guys what the blower looks like real quick if you guys haven't seen it. So yeah, this is what's under the hood. We have a ProCharger F1A94, absolute beast of a unit. Sorry if it's a little bit dirty in here. I drive this car all the time to lunch. But yeah, so what's ProCharger on the setup? F1A94, ProCharger crank support, and the coolant reservoir. Everything else is proprietary to RSA. We have our air-to-air setup on here. This is the setup I recommend for the guys that are going to be in that 1100 horsepower and under range. Pretty cool. You can actually see the blower right up in there. Anything more than this, I would say you go to a water to air. What's absolutely amazing about our setup with this is that this blower unit is great from anywhere 700-800 horsepower all the way to 1800 horsepower. It's absolute beast of a unit. All you got to do is hook up with some of the guys at FFRE or someone like that. You guys know I recommend FFRE based on my experience, but yeah, get a motor, go water to air, boom, all you got to do, and 1800 horsepower. Don't really have to change anything with our kit. Well, that's it, literally motor and water to air, and you're good to go. With the ProCharger setup, I can truly say it is a top tier setup with the way we control boost and control power. Compared to a turbo car, turbo cars are going to be more efficient technically because it's free power the way turbos work. But unless the turbo car is absolutely perfect, this ProCharger car is going to win. And it's going to win every single time. It's going to be super consistent, which is what it's all about. It's about being as least slow as possible. Especially for the highway guys, say you're cruising and a guy pulls up to you, you just mat the gas in this. It works that way. You don't have to brake boost. You don't have to deal with anti-lag type stuff. We all know that in the top tier of roll racing, someone uses anti-lag, that's probably going to cost them the race because nobody lets you just sit on anti-lag. And with the consistency and ease of this setup, it's top tier, it's S tier in my opinion. The turbo cars have advantages when it comes to free power, stuff like that. But when it comes to overall consistency, being as least slow as possible, and for anyone being able to hop in the car and go super, super fast, it's real hard to beat. It is very, very, very hard to beat. And financially, I think it's an amazing option considering that from the initial setup, literally all you have to do is get a motor when you're ready and then go water to air. So yeah, this is the build. This is the setup. This is my favorite supercharger setup for a Coyote. I have it on my own personal car so you guys see. And I am extremely happy with it. The racing has been extremely fun. This car has performed extremely well. It's super consistent. And yeah, dude, you know where to hit us up. If you have any questions, just reach out to me, and if I can, I will get back to you. But yeah, ProCharger for a Coyote street car, in my opinion, top tier.